Joshua, can we just have your audio and video check and everything?
Yes, Bilal, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. So can you open, just have a video check also, it becomes easy.
That's 1 minute.
Yeah, good, fine. Yeah, it's okay, great. So today I'm going to stand up. So I'm going to take the lessons from you.
Please sit down, sir.
I'm going to get ready. Normally that's what I do. So last time I took it easy, but then I realized, no, that's not the way I should be doing it. So let. Yeah, here I go. So already we have 10 participants are there.
Yeah, good
Let's
evening,
wait
Mr.
for
Milind.
3
Good
more
evening,
minutes.
Mr. Milind. Good evening.
Good evening, Alan sir.
Nice
Good
to
evening.
see you looking so smart.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
As usual.
No, maybe last week when Joshua reinforced those points, I made sure right from Sunday morning, I made sure that I was doing those exercises and almost a week. So I was consciously taking care. So maybe that is the reason I'm looking a bit smart, a bit smart than now.
A little bit smart.
My voice is loud and clear, no?
All right. Ashish, good evening.
Hey, good evening, Josh.
You're
evening.
at home or you're somewhere else?
No, my wife is driving, so I'm in the car.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
There's no problem outside now. Police don't
No,
care.
no, not. Yeah, you can.
You can, okay.
Yes, very much. And how have you been?
Cool. Doing good as usual.
As usual. All fit, fine.
Yeah, Joshua, I missed your presentation last week. Looking forward to attending today's.
Who spoke right now? Did you speak at Ashish or?
No, not me. It was somebody else.
Arun Malhotra here. I said that I had missed out your presentation.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to attending this one.
Great. Thanks.
So, Josh, with the new unlockdown rule, are we looking at meeting up? Oh, I can't hear you. Okay, can't hear you.
Joshua, you're muted.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought I unmuted.
Okay. Yes.
You're asking about meeting up.
I mean, the general meetup as such, because
Yes.
obviously it's better to take tips in person rather than over a call.
Hello, uncle. We'll wait for a few more minutes, Milind.
Yeah, so what I'm doing, just now I think is, let's wait. So we have 11 participants, correct? So welcome Nitin, welcome Murlidhara, welcome Asha, welcome Ashish for the second time, welcome Arun
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you.
Welcome Satish Kumar. Welcome Parvatamma. Welcome Arindam Roy Chaudhary.
Yeah, a very good evening to all of you.
Good evening. So now already we have 11. So what we can do, let's start, because otherwise we'll end up. Okay. So what I'm doing right now, no, I'm trying to mute all the participants excepting just to, so that we don't have any disturbance when someone joins. Can you hear me? Okay. Joshua, you can unmute yourself. So let's you keep, so
Yes.
both of us be unmuted so that some interaction may be there.
Yes.
And then when we have question answer sessions, we can start. So it becomes easy. So now let's get started. Thank you all for joining the second session on how to enhance your resilience during COVID time. Last Saturday, we had a similar session to increase your resilience in lockdown. And we are privileged to have the author of the book, Lockdown 2020. In fact, that is his headline, How to Increase Your Resilience in Lockdown. So just a brief introduction about the author, Joshua Francis. Thank you for joining us. Joshua Francis is an author and life coach who evolves in high performance coaching for individuals and professionals, applying design thinking concept to solve complex problems and render innovative solutions. He has expertise in diverse areas such as data privacy and data protection, business continuity, enterprise risk management, agile and SAFE agile. He has trained over 3,500 plus professionals in GDPR, design thinking, ISO 27000, CMMI, emotional intelligence, body language, and so on and so forth. He has over 26 years of experience in IT industry and has played major roles in delivery, quality, stakeholder management, training, auditing, leadership coaching, and international business. When I went through this book, I was a bit surprised that it was named as Lockdown 2020. I had a feeling, why should I read that book? But in the preface itself, made it clear that that book of last year is still relevant even today, because the preface goes on to say, lockdown provides you the necessary slowdown in life, which you always wanted. This slowdown can be utilized to catch up on many things for which you had always given excuse as no time. Mankind has always come up with scientific innovations during the times of distress, war, or major pandemic. This is the right time for you to redesign your life the way you always wanted, especially to be resilient and bounce back through all challenges the world has to offer. So thank you, Joshua, once again for joining again. So just a recap of what we started in just a big background. This book has 7 chapters, which talks out of that 6 chapters talks about resilience. Chapter 1, which we started and we are going to continue today, is physical resilience. Next comes mental resilience. Next comes social media resilience. Next is negative people resilience, hygiene practices resilience, and hierarchy resilience. Now coming to the next, physical resilience. So I'm just trying to recap on what we discussed on the first day. There are few tips or few commandments which Joshua has highlighted in his book. The commandment number 1, your first hour of the day should be dedicated to lubricate your joints, strengthen your muscles, and make yourself flexible. Do not give any excuses. It is mandatory that you dedicate the first hour of your day to prepare your body for the next 23 hours. Choose any form of exercises which you are comfortable with. Choose the one which is sustainable for you on the long run. There he highlighted, that day we had question answer sessions. He said why that is important. Because the first hour is charged up, you move on. The second commandment, which I found it initially a bit of disturbing, but then the way he convinced, I got convinced. The second commandment which he talked about was avoid stimulants early in the morning like coffee and tea, which can slowly dull your nervous system. When you do this, you are lowering your possibility of experiencing life. This obviously was very difficult for many of us, but Joshua has a solution for that. All that he's saying, instead of those stimulants, have something healthy, fresh fruit juice or fresh vegetable juice. In fact, that is not a stimulant. That will help you to energize throughout. Whereas a stimulant, once you take in the morning, after 3 hours, when the effect of stimulant goes down, again you have that urge of having the tea and coffee. And that becomes a day-long process, a routine. Now, next point, which is the third commandment, was regarding how, when, and what to eat. Obviously, he said it is prudent to eat in moderation. Eat next meal only when the previous meal is fully digested, and ensure that you consume food that is agreeable to you. Body always communicates to you. Listen to the communication, whether the body is at rest or in commotion. When in commotion, check for the root cause, whether you have consumed more food or consuming food which is not agreeable to you, or consuming food while feeling you are still full. It is not about good food or bad food. Are you consciously deciding to eat what you eat? Always experiment what you eat. If the food, what you eat, makes you energized and comfortable, you can continue with that food. Else, you may have to discontinue that food, that particular food. In my case, I was a hardcore non-vegetarian till October 2012. Thereafter, I had an Ayurvedic course on health. Well, it was a 6 days course where they highlighted just requested us that for 6 days, do not have non-vegetarian. I somehow managed those 6 days. But the 7th day, I felt, okay, let me continue one day. And that continued for a couple of months. And then I realized the difference what I used to have in the past and now. So this is what it was in my case. Of course, things may differ for everyone. Then going forward, try and eat, then you also highlighted what you should be eating. Try and eat some percentage of your food every day in raw form, either in fruits, vegetables, or nuts. During lockdown situation, you can develop this habit of drinking vegetable, fruit, or juice early in the morning, soon after you wake up. By this, you will ensure that all the nutrients are absorbed by the body when your stomach is empty. Then Joshua brought up some different concept which I was not aware of. He talked about a second brain. Till now, before I read this book, I knew only one and only brain over here. Of course, which my wife had doubts about it. But now, after reading Joshua's book, I came to know about a second book, a second brain. And what is that? Now, when he's talking about what to eat, how to eat, and when to eat, he continues with that. He talks about our guts, our stomach, which is the biggest item in our body. And it does all the activities of digestion, metabolism, independent of the brain over here. In fact, everything, our emotions, etc., goes from the stomach to the brain and not vice versa. Maximum nerves are flowing from the stomach and goes to the brain to give our emotions, etc. So that is the importance of our second brain. So we need to be very careful and take care of that. So therefore, in this book, there's almost couple of more than 5-6 pages on that second brain, scientific evidence why that is so important. And again, he highlighted the nervous system which is there. They say our emotions, everything depends on how our bowel system works, our anger. So it's not our brain which gets hot. It is the stomach who upset stomach can create problem when it comes to your mindset. So this is the important. So now just to quickly recapitulate, few tips which we talked about was dedicate first hour of the day to lubricate your joints, strengthen your muscles and make yourself flexible. Number 2, replace those stimulants like tea and coffee in the morning with vegetable and fruit juice. Take care of how and when to eat. Learn to take care of what goes into your second brain, your guts or your stomach. Take beetroot or carrot juice early in the morning or combination of that. Empty stomach, which will energize you for the whole day and keep you agile. This will ensure your guts are cleansed of all toxic and removed, and your toxins are removed on ongoing basis. So during lockdown, most of you who are working at home do not have the excuse of no time. Make your juice and have early in the morning. Develop this habit during these times, which can become conscious decision moving forward in your life. Thereafter, other tip he focused upon was on fasting. The importance of fasting he highlighted in the book too and in the discussion. Fasting is a practice that has been associated with a wide era of potential health benefits, including weight loss, as well as improved blood sugar control, heart health, brain function, and cancer prevention. You can choose any type of fasting like water fasting, juice fasting, intermittent fasting, partial fasting, and calorie restriction. During the lockdown, you can easily attempt any of these practices and incorporate that in your daily routine, which will immensely improve your health. Next point which we highlighted was conscious deep breathing. Be conscious of how you breathe. Practice deep breathing from your lower abdomen instead of shallow breathing from your chest. The moment you are conscious of this type of breathing, deep breathing, your perception becomes closer to reality. And this has extremely positive impact on your life. Now I'm pausing here. This is what we had discussed last week. Now I have a question to all the audience. They can put it on chat window. My question to you is, who is the biggest enemy of our health today? I'll repeat, who is the biggest enemy of our health today? Any response?
Access to kitchen.
Ashish, just louder.
Access to kitchen.
Okay, 1 point. Anyone else has any other idea?
Somebody may say President of China.
Food and lethargy. Okay. Anyone else? Access to kitchen, food and lethargy. Any other questions? One more last scope for anyone.
A craving to eat always.
Pardon, Muralidhara, sir?
The desire to keep eating all the time.
Desire to keep on eating. Okay. So desire to keep eating, kitchen, like what Ashish said, lethargy, what Asha said. So most of the things are connected with food. So let us go to our authority. So Joshua, the question to you, according to you, which is the biggest enemy today for us? Who is the biggest enemy of our health today? Over to Joshua. Unmute yourself, yeah.
Thanks, Milind, for the introduction and explaining so far what we have come across. So hate, today the biggest enemy of our health is hatred. In our life, I think all of us can associate that some way or the other, through our life, we tend to hate some people whom we are associated with. Maybe your friends, peers, colleagues, relatives. All of us, all of you know what is hatred and what it does to you. The cause of killer diseases is our mind, right? And we have seen few examples during this COVID situation also. Even some of the doctors have noticed that mind plays a very big role. And the silent killer is not hypertension, diabetes, but our own mind. If we don't keep this mind serene, and if it is poisoned with hate, and it is our own body that gets damaged and not the one whom we ate, right? So there are totally 120 trillion cells in our body, and every cell loves the other cells, and in turn it loves the cells of others as well. So if we start hating someone else, our own cells get confused, because every other human being cells are interconnected, and this hating continues. Our own cells start hating their own cells within us, and that is nothing but autoimmune disease. So if we start loving one another and we have a universal compassion, which will eventually lead to good health. And it's important that good health is enthusiasm to be compassionate and loving, and that should be all the time, right? Not with certain set of people whom I like, not with certain people whom I don't like, right? It should be universal. So that is the key. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Joshua, for this profound talk. So profound thought. Of course, for people who had a concern like regarding food, kitchen, those are important. Now that already we have those tips, take care of what goes into your stomach. But at the same time, this concept of hate. So what he said was, I just want to reiterate once more. Today, the biggest enemy of our health is hatred. The causes of killer disease is our mind. The silent killer is not hypertension, diabetes, but our own mind. If this mind is poisoned and it hates someone, it is our own body that gets damaged and not the one whom we hate. So even for our selfish reason, we have to make sure we stop hating others, whether we like them or not. As he rightly said, we have 120 trillion cells in our body. Every cell loves other cell, and in turn, it loves other cells. If we hate someone, our own cells get confused because every other human being cell are interconnected. If this hating continues, our own cells starts hating their own cells, and that is what Joshua highlighted is autoimmune disease. If only we start loving one another and we have universal compassion, which leads to good health. And it is true that good health is enthusiasm to be compassionate and loving. Joshua, it's extreme profound thought you had given. In fact, you seem to have written one book on that, how to overcome hate. Can you just highlight a couple of points just for our understanding on what is that book all about?
I have written that was my first book. The first book was about love and life. If there is no love, there is no life. And if there is only when there is true freedom, full freedom, there is love, right? So freedom, love, and life is connected. So that's the context of that book. And if you have to love your own child truly, then you have to give total freedom to your child, right? But many of them will have a question: if I give total freedom, what happens, right? So as a simple thing, God created us and he has given total freedom to choose what we want to do, how we want to live our life. He does not use a remote control to, because if he uses a remote control, all of us become robots, right? So the concept here is true love comes with total freedom. And that's the key for our entire, life. Without love, there is no life. You can lead a life, yes, but that's not the real life. And when we talk about love, people have different definitions for love. This is about compassion, universal compassion. We just talked about. Okay, Milind.
Joshua, any personal anecdote or something which you would like to share on this compassion, so which will reinforce what you have been saying?
Okay, probably that example would be too big, what I recollect right now, to share in this forum.
Fair. So now I'm throwing open to any questions anyone has on this important concept. The biggest enemy is your hatred and your own mind. Anyone has any suggestion or anything, or any doubts or something? We can spend a couple of minutes on that, and then we can move to the second chapter, because that was the last conclusion in chapter 1 on physical resilience. Anyone wants to raise their hand, or anyone wants to unmute themselves and talk about this particular point. Go ahead, Nitin.
Yes,
Yes, Joshua.
Nitin, your voice is not very clear.
In your voice is not clear.
Can you re-log in, or you can put it on chat?
Type, Nitin, type the
Nitin.
question in the chat box. Huh?
Because we
You're
can't
not
hear
talking
you.
about forgiveness.
I heard the word forgiveness, but complete the sentence.
So Nitin, do me a favor, just put it on chat, or maybe just re-log in. Sometimes there may be some network connectivity at your end. Just anyone else has any other ideas or any suggestions, etc. Movidara sir, Arun sir, Ashish, Srikant. Welcome, Srikant, for joining. Satish Kumar, Asha, Keshwa. Okay, seems people are convinced with what you said. So there is no dispute or no confusion as well. So just to, we are through the first point which we were talking about was the mental resilience, was a physical resilience, which we have covered today. So we started with make sure you spend your first hour on your body, make sure avoid those tea and coffee, replace it with something healthy, fresh fruit juice or vegetable juice. Third point, which was there, be conscious of what you are eating. Take care of what goes into your stomach. Fourth point was on deep breathing. Next one was regarding trying to have this fresh veg. Next was regarding avoiding any hatred to anyone, be compassionate. So those are main points which were covered in our first chapter on physical resilience. Now we move to the second chapter, which talks about mental resilience. So Joshua, you have started the mental resilience chapter with emotional intelligence. Ability to manage emotions effectively is a crucial part of emotional intelligence. So can you highlight on this point, what is this emotional intelligence and why it is important to manage emotions?
All of us know what is emotional intelligence, but is that intelligence coming, consciously we apply that intelligence at the right place and time? That's the key. So for that, we need a mental resilience. So emotions help prioritize what we pay attention and react to. And the ability to manage emotions effectively is a crucial part of emotional intelligence.
Thank you, Joshua.
So in the book,
Go
I
ahead,
have
sorry.
also written about Milind, I'll just cover this aspect. So you need to be able to develop the ability to condition your mind to expect fearful thoughts or external challenges, but to tolerate them when they arise, like the entire world is facing, our COVID lockdown. We are supposed to shift our current challenges to build a meaning and create objectives in life to move on. So it's not worth to just cry or to give an excuse or complain about. All we need to do is shift our focus and think what is our objective in life and move on. And you should be able to observe the challenges around you And the byproduct of the negative thoughts around you, but without reacting to them, right? And realizing that this is it. Nobody asked for it, right? But yes, now we have to go through this. Now, what next is what we need to think about. And this is also a great opportunity for us to become closer to reality. We cannot live in a dream world, right? So that's the introduction to this chapter. Thanks, Milind. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Joshua, for highlighting the importance of emotional intelligence. As you rightly said, emotional intelligence plays a major role in mental resilience. Emotion helps prioritize what we pay attention and react to. We respond emotionally to things that garner our attention, using emotion to promote thinking and cognitive activity. Ability to manage emotion effectively is a crucial part of emotional intelligence. Regulating emotions, responding appropriately, and responding to emotions of others are all important aspects required to keep your mental balance. You need to develop the ability to condition your mind to expect fearful thoughts of external challenges, but to tolerate them when they are there and they arise, like the entire world is facing today, the corona lockdown. You are supposed to shift your current challenges to build meaning and create objectives in life to move on. You should be able to observe the challenges around you and the byproduct of negative thoughts around you, but without reacting to them and realizing that this is it. This is not you wanted, but it has fallen on your lap and you can't help it. What next? This is the great opportunity for you to become slowly closer to reality and take necessary steps to progress in the right direction. Joshua, my second question to you. You have cautioned us from not identifying self in a particular certain type of behavior or characteristics, and hence putting us in a particular box. So can you highlight what do you mean that not identifying? Well, I feel maybe I'm rightist, I'm leftist, I'm liberal, something maybe I have made up my mind. I go with this. So what do you feel? It's not very clear to me. Can you just highlight this point?
I think if Priya is there in the call, she wrote one article about keeping Bruce Lee in mind, right? So he has talked about a philosophy called fluidity. Be like a water. You pour a water in in a jar, it takes the form of a jar. You pour in any vessel, it takes the shape of that vessel, right? So fluidity is the key to life. In order to be fluid, you cannot put yourself in a box and say, I am like this only. Then who else can come and change you? All of us know change is the only thing which is permanent on this world. Things keep changing. Environment around us keeps changing. We ourselves keep changing. Physically, mentally, everything gets changed all around us. We cannot, put ourselves in a box. So it's important that we go through this kind of cycle. Probably, Milind, you can explain that part. Why that? What is that kind of a cycle we have to go through? Probably you can ask me more questions on that. If the change is hitting us hard, then what happens to us, right? So whenever there is a change, we become uncomfortable because we put ourselves in a box and say that, I will do this, do this, do this, do this. This is my only way of doing things. Change, sometimes, most of the time, if you take your own step towards the change, positive change, it is easier for you. But sometimes if it is forced upon you, like the one it's happening now for us, COVID, entire life has changed for many of us. It's forced upon us. Nobody wanted it, but we'll have to go through that change. So whenever the change hits hard, we get into a shock mode and the denial mode and get frustrated, right? And we get into a depression. This is where your dangerous, downward trend goes. But the important aspect is, yes, it is okay to go through this trend, downward trend, but we need to bounce back by experimenting different ways of doing things, different ways of approaching, and you develop certain capability to handle the current challenges. Right? And you take informed decisions, or to realign your life and integrate it, right? Part and parcel of your life. So that we don't look around to complain, whom to complain, right? We never look at the mirror and, can I complain? No, you will not complain to yourself. You will only complain to others. Complain government, complain authorities, complain people around us. But we will never ever complain that, can I be the first person to go through the positive change? While going through this change curve, yes, the shock, denial, frustration, depression. If you're able to move from that shock to that experiment stage very quickly and rapidly, that's when you become extremely resilient. If you take, for example, any organization who is running smoothly now, that is because they are resilient. They're extremely resilient and they have taken enough actions. That is what one of my core competency is business continuity. We have put in so much of effort and practices for business continuity. It is now, it's like a cakewalk, right? So we did not struggle working from home. Thousands of people working from home, we did not struggle because the resilience is high level. People are, from shock to that experiment is very rapid. So once we give that cushion. Yes, Melanie.
So any audience, if they have any doubts or questions or any suggestions, they can share their views. They can raise their hand or unmute yourself. Anyone has anything? Okay. So thank you for this, Joshua, important point which you talked about. But how important is that you are saying that it's you have to continue this one. A slowdown in your life gives a great opportunity for you to practice progress and improve over a period of time. It's important not to identify yourself in a certain behavior or characteristics. This will put you in a box, which will eventually become difficult for you to come out over a period of time. You should be able to be fluid in nature and adapt to the environment around you. Sometimes it may be small change, sometimes it may be drastic change, the way coronavirus has affected us all. And you will go through the different cycles. So regarding those cycles, you talked about something called Kubler-Ross change curve. So can you just highlight what is this Kubler-Ross change curve?
As I've just explained, we go through this curve called first is a shock.
Hmm.
Second step is denial. You deny, oh, this has not happened to us, right? Then you realize that yes, it has happened to us. Then what should I do? What, you get into a frustration mode. Then you get into a depression state, right? And you will get a spark of emotion from within yourself, or comes from your peers, colleagues, or your own parents or friends, or coach. So that spark of innovation, motivation will make you to experiment. That is the next stage. The moment you start experimenting, like the way Milind started experimenting, standing and working for some time, try and avoiding, coffee, tea. He is experimenting. While he is experimenting, he is developing the certain amount of capability. So it is not easy to stand and work for 8 to 12 hours, right? So you are developing certain amount of capability. The next level is the decision. You are taking an informed decision within yourself that yes, let me continue this or discontinue based on your level of, it's not working out for you. Yes, if it is working for you, you start continuing. And then you start integrating this as part of your own life, right? Either in my organization or people who are closer to me, family, friends, they are not surprised that I'm standing and working, because they don't come and ask me why and all of that, because this fellow is like that only, so they don't even ask. So it's become integrated as part of my life. So that's the change curve which I was talking. Yes, Milind.
Thank you, Joshua, for highlighting this important point. In fact, I'm also trying to practice a standing thing.
Actually, currently Milind is standing. Huh? We have to give a standing ovation to Milind.
Thank you. Because last week, Joshua highlighted that how he has been doing for the last 6 years in his office. The moment he gets up in the morning, there is no chair in the office, nowhere. He's on his feet all through till the time he hits the sack in the evening. Now, we notice quite often, now the current scenario, which has been going for the last more than almost coming to 2 years, that everyone has a problem, but some of them are they're dazzling in these problems. And many of us are depressive, we are getting irritated, unnecessarily fighting, but others are sincerely doing their job, and in fact, they're doing much more better. So how is that possible? Situation is similar, identical if maybe, but still one person is totally different from others. So what makes that change, or what is that secret sauce?
It's all about, you need to be conscious, extremely be conscious when we open and utter a word, or any actions for that matter, right? So we need to be cautious, and it is irony that mental resilience and individual happiness is independent of external circumstances, right? But mental resilience is also dependent to a certain extent the relationship you have with others. And this is one of the reasons that emotional intelligence comes into play. So negative thoughts infect people with lower mental resilience, just like the germs or allergies affect with the weak immune system. So if your mental resilience is strong, the negative thoughts, just like the germs, may enter your mind, but don't stay there and just move on. It is as simple as that, but it is important that we practice it and practice it consciously. So whenever there is a conscious effort, there will be a lot of improvement. Yes, madam, over to you.
Thank you. So anyone has any thoughts or any questions to Joshua? Arun sir, anything from your end? You are muted, sir.
Yeah. No, that I just had one which I had reflected about 5-7 minutes back when he was asking about resilience. I suppose resilience is how you will react to a down and out condition generally. And this is a manifestation which comes out of two qualities within an individual. One is self-awareness, which is purely a spiritual upliftment to understand what you are. And the second one is mental equilibrium, how balanced a person you are, how erratic you are, or how smooth functioning you are. So this is both these are actually mentally related. And I think in the last 2 minutes, we just heard Joshua speak about the same mental equilibrium, which implies basically to, it's a mental equilibrium that he's talking about. That's what he was also mentioning. So yes, I agree with him. In fact, I'd asked the question before he actually explained this just now. It is all an issue of self-awareness, which is a very deep subject, trying to understand what are you really actually. And the other one is a manifested quality, which is your mental balance. This mental balance is important. Who commits suicides? Who are not poor resilience? Why are they poor resilient? The reason is that they have lost their balance. The mental balance is not there. Whether you call it mental equilibrium or you call it emotional quotient, there are different ways of expression. Over to you, Joshua.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Arun sir. In fact, background of Arun sir is a army man, so he has that resilience. He was in Kashmir and entire world, different parts of the world, in the country, in the borders. So he's the best person to talk about
In fact,
resilience.
in fact, the word resilient came from armed forces.
Yes, when
Now,
it comes
how
to
resilient
selection,
we are.
during our selection standards, one of the key quality
Yes.
for selection to becoming an officer is resilience.
Yes.
You're right.
Thank you. Asha, any points from your end?
Oh, I completely agree. I agree with Joshua.
Yeah.
See, if you have two principles basically in your life and both are interconnected, like you always hope for the best but prepare for the worst. So that hope is everything in life. And also one more thing is we prepare ourselves well, then half the battle we've won. So what he says is, resilience comes with all this, how prepared we are. And like he said, change is the only thing that is permanent. So we have to prepare ourselves for all these. That I think, as he said, a conscious effort we have to put in. We can't always live in the past. We have to look at the future. Yeah.
So thank you, Asha. Joshua, I recall last week when one of the lady who joined, and she joined because her young son was inspired by you, and he was at your home also, and that he has changed completely, and that's why the lady had a regards to you. I forgot her name. So that is what the things are. So now question like what Arun sir or you said, people are committing suicide, and that has become very common, prevalent among the young generation, young students, etc., just not passing one exam or not getting admission in one college. So what is your take on that? Because normally we say resilience comes with age, with the gray the hairs you pick up. But how it's important for the young, how can we make sure the young who are the future of our country, our own community, they are getting disturbed, and so any thought process on that?
See, we always say that the future is in our children and youth. But as elders, some of us are, most of us are we setting an example for the future generation? Is the question we have to ask consciously, right? Because children are like our own mirrors for the good things what we do, and they become, you know, what is that? Magnifying glass when we do something wrong. So having a child is an extremely, extremely responsible role. And it is, if you do your job well, it is 20-year-old project. If you don't do it well, it becomes a lifetime project, right? So that also should be a conscious, decision that, if I'm going to have a child, my lifestyle should be changed, and I have to do a lot of sacrifices in order to help that child to grow in a, uh, very compassionate environment. So that's the key. If you're able to do that, then we cannot keep blaming the youngsters. How long can we blame, right?
The-
Did we nurture the plant properly for it to be nourished? Did we nourish the plant for it to grow properly? Did we create the correct environment? Yes. We do not have 100%, what to say, control as such, right? But still, we can, to a great extent, set an example.
See the point. Sorry.
Yes,
The
go
point
ahead.
of the point of contention raised by Mr. Milind was that we become more resilient as we grow. Now here there's a difference of opinion. I personally feel, pardon me for saying so, Mr. Milind, we all have our own opinions. I think resilience comes right from the very beginning as children also. The only thing is the level of resilience depends upon the level of problems that we have in life. Their problems at a lower level, so their resilience is at a lower level. As we go up, our problems increase and they are of a more difficult nature. Our resilience increases that way. So what do we do to improve our resilience? The first thing that the children are even taught, for that matter, in terms of time management and this and that, it is basically to prioritize relationships. One must prioritize relationships from the very early beginning to become more resilient. After all, there's a loyalty towards a teacher, there's a loyalty towards parents, there's a loyalty towards your family. And if anybody in that family, there's something happens, the child knows that this is my priority, he or she, that child will be very, very resilient. It'll come from within. It comes from within. Another way to train children to become more resilient is they should be group activities, which in the school they do have. Group activities develops resilience in the children because when they're in a group, either they're the team leaders or they're the team members, and to that extent, they have started attaching themselves. The team's problems are their problems. To solve their problems, they have to be more resilient. A very important way to develop resilience. The third issue is to take care of your own health. We have already discussed this. Initially, we started with health. Yes, if you are healthy, you will be resilient. But if you are very defeatist, if you are unhealthy, you will not be able to stand up physically or morally to a problem. You will feel defeatist. A defeatist attitude will develop because you are not healthy to fight a problem. A weak person, he gives in very quickly. Well, these are avoiding negative thoughts. Avoiding negative thoughts. Children are always taught by their father and mother, be positive, be positive. We all talk right from the very beginning. When I was a young teenager and before that, be positive, think that you will be successful, think that you will be successful. Automatically, resilience to fight unsuccess develops and you start becoming successful. I mean, this is not a lecture on, I'm not giving a lecture on resilience, but there were just a couple of thoughts which
Yeah.
came
Thank
into
you
my
for
mind.
that.
But they are all an offshoot of what Mr. Milind had said. Does resilience come with time? It starts right from the beginning. As soon as your grooming starts as a young child. Over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Sharon. See, that's one important aspect is you have to create warriors. So if you want to create warriors, don't go and solve their problems all the time. Let them deal their problems and become successful. If they fail early, they will succeed sooner. And if we protect them too much, then whenever they face a failure or a real time scenario in a life, they succumb to a lot of other aspects which we all know about. So learn to say no to your children, right? That most of us do, but we need to continue to do that as long as we are setting an example. I think that's the key.
So
Yes.
Joseph, yeah. Joseph, you on one hand you said no, give freedom to your children and learn to say no. Don't you think it's both contradictory? My child just wants to have junk food. Now, if I give freedom and she is not controlling herself, so how I just wanted to understand with clarity on this.
So what is the difference between saying no and giving freedom? That's a good question. In the sense, when you say you give freedom, yes, you go ahead and eat what you want. But at the same time, like my son is a professional football player, and he's a striker as well. I see, I want a minimum 1 goal in every match. That's a freedom given to you. This is the goal. I mean, this is our coach wanted, your team wanted, right? I also want, right? So I give you freedom what you want to choose and eat or do what you want, right? So you give them the bigger objective and a bigger picture, right? You do not micromanage and try to pick on them, every second or every minute. Highlight the bigger picture and the objectives which they are chasing. They'll eventually fall in line. Over to you.
Thank you, Joshua. Joshua, coming to your conclusion of this chapter where you have given this quote, constantly enhance your perception. This will lead to clarity. It's important every individual invest time to bring clarity into their lives. So your parting thoughts on this end of this chapter, can you just share?
Most of the time, the problems we deal with due to our perception is quite far away from reality. Right? That's when we land into problems, especially in communicating with others, relationship with others, or taking decisions, right? Especially very important and vital decisions. So if you have to enhance your perceptions, it's important that you consciously, right, take every action of yours, including your own breathing, right? All that what we talked about. So all of this, if you start doing consciously, then you are slowly moving towards, you know, uh, the way we perceive things, which is actually very closer to reality. We can't say that it is still reality, but closer to reality. Because we are not God, we cannot predict future or predict what's there in someone else's heart or mind. Only they themselves know and God knows. So we can be closer to reality so that any decision we take will be fruitful. Over to you, Milind.
Yeah, thank you. I recall the way you said, when you take deep breathing, you are closer to the reality. So a lot of points, what you eat, good, healthy food also comes. So everything is that trying to, since we are not God and we don't know the future,
Yes.
with good health and good resilience, we can come at least as far as possible. And in spite of any problems which are beyond our control, like what we have that mental and physical strength to withstand and come out in a dazzling color. So that's a good point you highlighted. So now that we are almost in the end of our session, any questions from anyone? Sheetal, Teresa, Nitin, Asha, Muralidhara sir, Srikant sir, anyone? Because we'll take the remaining resilience in the next week's session. Anyone has any questions? Otherwise, we'll wind up.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Since there are
Yeah,
no
having
questions.
known
Sorry.
Joshua
Ah,
personally, he's a true inspiration for all of us. Yeah.
please, so you can give some anecdotes. What makes him so inspirational?
Yeah, he walks the talk actually.
Okay.
Truly sticks to what he says.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that is a it is just not a talk and not going by it. See, we should practice what we preach.
Wow.
That's exactly that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So he's got a beautiful family. Yeah. So he's a good example for all of us. Yeah.
And we are fortunate to have him in our ward. So that's a good thing. So we have a fantastic persons, not only one, couple of more also who walks the talk, and that's what is required as a leader. So thank you all for joining today. Next, we will take the remaining resilience which are there. So which talks about social media resilience, negative people resilience, hygienic practices resilience, hierarchical resilience, and the conclusions. So those are really profound thoughts which Joshua has covered in his book. We will take those one by one. So thank you all once more. We'll catch up next week.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Milan and Joshua.
Thanks a lot, Asha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Arun.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again, Sheetal.
Thank you for the session.
Bye,
Thank you,
Sheetal.
Sheetal.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you, Milan.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Teresa.
thank you.
Nitin had that question. No, we could not hear him out. So maybe you know Nitin or someone? No.
Nitin, are you still in the call? If you want to ask the question, you can ask.
Oh, Mohammed Sharif just joined.
Okay.
Okay. So anyway, we'll just hide the. Yeah, Nitin, go ahead.
Yes. Who's that?
Nitin is speaking.
Okay, go ahead, Nitin.
I just want to know, you just spoke about hatred and things like that. How do we do it? I mean, you never spoke about forgiveness.
Okay, we never spoke about forgiveness.
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 Because
The forgiveness, okay.
yes,
We never spoke about forgiveness.
people
We have actually covered this part indirectly when we talked about do not hate anybody. The moment we hate somebody, that means that we are not forgiving that person. So when there is no forgiveness, hatred starts, hatred builds up, right? Hatred builds up by multiple actions, or it keeps building up. So that is what leads to hatred. So if you are able to,
So Joshua, what we can do now? Nitin, do join next week. So we
we
take this.
continue.
We can explain properly because now already we are finishing the time. We have another call now. Okay, it's 7:25. So thank you once more all, and we catch up next week.
All right.
Thanks
Bye
Joshua
then.
for your time. Thanks Vikrant. Thanks Nitin. Thanks Teresa. Thanks Sharif sir. Maybe we have to share the recording with him afterwards.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.